Fellow Toastmasters.
Good evening. Good evening.
I am Ditanyan, and I'm going to share my middle name, Demetrius Tsai. My speech tonight is learning to believe in oneself to overcome obstacles. And I want to take you to a year that changed my life. That was 1994. I turned 21 years old. Let me give you some background prior to 1994. From the age of 16 to 21, growing up in Baltimore City, I did not think I was going to live to be the age of 25 or more. Coming closer to 1994, when 1994 actually came, I was about 2 years removed from being academically dismissed from my college with a 1.6 GPA. When August 1st, which is my birthday, of 1994 came, I almost was murdered for the third time. So thinking that I wasn't going to live was, coming close. But since I did not die on those previous 3 occasions, I said to myself, what if you're supposed to be here? So later on that year, 3 things started to happen. Well, it was the first of 3 things that happened. I had an epiphany. I woke up one morning, and after a good night's sleep, you just wake up. I just woke up eyes wide, and I said, self, you are a bum. You live in your mother's house. You work at McDonald's. You're a college dropout. And yet, you say you want a woman that has her own place, her own ride, educated, and yet you have none of these things. What do you have to offer, not only to a woman, but to this society? What are you going to do about that? So starting in 1994, after the epiphany, so I need to go back to school. So I started the efforts to go back to school. Started working more than one job. Because with a 1.6 GPA, you no longer have financial aid. So you got to cut that check yourself. So I said, I got to save this money up. But at the time I was working a job and I was working 1 to 9, which was going to be difficult because the condition of me going back to school, so I had to repeat the classes in which I failed. And there was one major thing that would stop me from being successful when I was in college. And I'll speak to that in just a second. The Lord gave me the second thing that helped me go back to college. He broke my ankle. Because I could not go back to school with that 1 to 9 schedule. And because this job I was working, doing security, broke the ankle, could not do that type of work anymore. They put me on the night shift, 11 to 7, which will allow me to go back to school. So now I'm going to school. But I'm back in a place where I previously got academically dismissed. I knew that's where I needed to be, but did not know how I was going to exit that program. But I was there. And I came across this professor, because I took English 102 for the second time. And this professor had a conversation with me that was so profound that began to really put that course in action to where I am today. I turned in a few papers, and as I got the papers back, it was just as much red ink as there was black ink. And she said to me, Mr. Tsai, have you ever proofread your papers? I said, what is that? She said, have you actually read them before you turn them in? I said, no, I just type them up and print it out and turn it in on a word processor. She said, I'm going to suggest to you that you go over to the computer lab, which I had never stepped foot in, and let them help you become a better writer. So there's nothing wrong with your content, you're just making some little errors here. So I go over to the computer lab, don't even really know how to work the computer, definitely know how to work Microsoft Word. But they showed me how to do it, and I turned my paper in. When I got it back, that was the moment that I really began to believe in myself. Because I no longer saw any red marks. When I flipped to the last page, it said 100, 100. And the light clicked on the side of me because prior to getting kicked out, I went into college believing I cannot write. And if you're going to matriculate through college, you have to write. And then on top of that, I had the nerve to be a history major. So you have to write as a history major. And when that professor asked me that profound question, do you proofread? And I found out what that meant. And then that light went off that I can write. and all the confidence went inside of me. And I had professors saying to me after that, "You write well." And that gave me so much energy that now I began to look forward to writing. And so I went from accepting C's and D's to not accepting nothing less than an A. When I graduated, prior to graduation, the director of the education department said to me, "I'm surprised you made it through." And at first I was offended, but then I thought, given what I projected before, that's a logical conclusion to come to. And I said, "Well, I thank you for that, and I'm so glad I was able to prove you wrong. I am going to go on." And so I said I can no longer have any gaps in my education. And so I graduated, and I immediately got inside my master's program. Within that time frame, because now my confidence is growing that I can do just about anything I put my mind to, I purchased my first house. Then I started getting into finance. I said, because you know what? Since you have no control of how long you're going to be here, plan for if you ever reach that milestone of being 75 or 85, although it's not guaranteed to you. And so, ladies and gentlemen, the greatest obstacle that I faced is standing before you. I had to get past my own self to realize my dreams, my goals, everything that I want to do in my life. And so as I move forward, the greatest obstacle will always be me. And I have to get myself out of the way too so I can move forward. Thank you.